Some people say I hate Adam too much. On the contrary, you don't hate him enough. This video will be operating under the assumption that you are familiar with the information I've presented in my previous lore and character analysis videos about Stellar Blade. If you have not seen any of them, links will be in the description and in the pinned comment down below. I didn't plan on making a follow-up about this, but some people still think Adam is not the villain, despite the fact that the game literally tells you he's the devil. By all means, keep defending him. But it's just an idiom. It means he's persuasive. Under normal conditions, you'd be correct. In this case, with all the biblical references and inspirations, the use of silver tongue is a deliberate choice of words. He is the devil of this story. The fallen angel who masquerades as benevolent and leaves pieces of forbidden fruit for Eve to consume so that she will stray from her god, also happens to be the father of what are essentially demons. The verity that I was able to deduce his role in the story as that of the devil after one playthrough, and at the time having just read a fraction of the documents, only reinforces my assessment. Every piece of history that mentions Raphael Marx, whether directly or not, exponentially compounds his iniquity. A quick little recap, because I legitimately cannot emphasize his egregious atrocities enough. Built on a foundation of lies, he used his mega company cartel to control the media, politics, society, and the economy. Journalists who didn't swear fealty were silenced. He used his private military to genocide entire populaces who opposed him. He fired all of Mother Sphere's AI engineers and disabled her safeguards. He aspired to take total control of humanity via the Human Instrumentality Plan. He taught his AI to lie, kill, and manipulate. He programmed her to improve humanity. She created improved humans, and when humanity rejected them, his AI that learned from him to replace inferior models did exactly that. He fled to his underground bunker and proceeded to make precisely the same mistakes again. He made a new AI to revolutionize humanity and named it after himself. That is relevant due to his narcissistic god complex. He programmed Raffi to obey his every command regardless of whatever that may be. He commanded Raffi to disregard safety protocols and to rewrite the genetics of these revolutionized humans to allow Raphael to take total control of them. The experiments, to zero surprise, went horribly wrong, and he caused the total extinction of humanity. After his abominations wreaked havoc upon the lands, and the angels began descending from the heavens to stop them, Raven, who is far more human than an Atiba, spoke to the Elder rather than killing him outright. Lamentably, the liar, the destroyer, he did what he always does. He fed Raven falsities, and with perverse guile, he dismantled her entire existence. But because her body just isn't good enough for him, he cast her aside, though not before turning the ruined Raven into another of his grotesqueries. Through the decades since his desolation of mankind, his good friend Oracle, using the people of Zion, provided him with a bottomless supply of lab rats to experiment on for his research. And Raven, her mind ravaged, wronged by the Elder, wrought chaos to subsequent airborne squads. And that, friend, brings us to our Eve, placed in a position of peril due to the causal sequence set in motion by Adam. But, by happenstance, he'll be there to save her. Conveniently, her dearest friend and commander died saving her, and he can use that to his advantage. By reanimating her as an alpha and pointing Eve in her direction, he forces her to kill her former confidant, break the chains of the past so she can move forward with him. She will be devastated, but he'll be there for her. He lies to her face throughout the entire story, manipulating her every which way. The legacies. He placed them in locations where he'd direct Eve to go, choosing the particular records to make Eve question her faith. Always playing the side of the legacies being absolute, he gives Eve that little extra push his way, much the same as he did with Raven. At last, when Eve has seen through his bullshit, ever incorrigible, he feigns remorse, pivoting blame to his disciples, and bloviating about how he is the only path forward. claiming he can save humanity when the game makes it abundantly clear humanity is gone and it's never coming back. And when his machination for attempt number 3 of total control is rejected, he denies accountability to the bitter end, laying the damnation of humanity's extinction on Eve. Okay, story time is over. Let's talk. Going back to the legacies, every time Eve listens to one, both Lily and Adam weigh in. Lily refutes the subject matter of the legacies and pleads with Eve not to even consider Raven's lies. Adam, who specifically chose the legacies, makes a show of believing every word of them. Lily, while not a combat model, is still part of the Eve Defense Force, the colloquial Angels. She is the angel on Eve's shoulder, striving to keep her on the right path. Adam, working overtime behind the curtain, is doing everything in his power to bend Eve to his will. The devil on her shoulder. In case you needed more substantiation. While we're on the topic of Adam and Lily, I'm sure you noticed just about every time Lily has any kind of idea, Adam shoots it down hard.
That's amazing, Lily. Colony Tech at your service. What do you think?
Damn kid. Tinkering with my drone.
It'll be very useful for the mission. Thanks, Lily.
How far are you from the Alpha Core?
Hey, don't push me while I'm operating.
I know you're taking a break. Are you sure this is the right way? Maybe I should be in charge of navigation.
How about you do your job, and I'll do mine?
That sound. It might be a survivor from the airborne squad.
All right, Lily. I'll hurry.
Lily, I need this communication line.
Oh, meanie.
He needs to be in control of everything, and becomes petulant whenever another character displays any amount of agency. Which brings us to the topic of total control, and why his monologue at the end should absolutely not be trusted. What did Raphael Marx covet? Total control of humanity. Improving humanity was a pretense. From The Truth, Article 5. Eidos Company's top-secret project, the Human Instrumentality Plan. The plan categorizes humans by ranks, manages and improves them based on data collected from Mother Sphere. Aspirations to conquer the world by using Mother Sphere under the guise of innovation. When his plan failed and he began experimenting on humans, what was his goal? Total control of humanity. It is necessary to improve the process of producing test subjects to allow for total control. Once more his plan failed in abject horror, and humanity went extinct as a consequence. But he's been researching for decades to find a way to save everybody. You can research something your entire life and still not understand a damn thing about it. He does not want to save anybody. He doesn't give a shit about improving anything. He has only ever wanted total control of humanity. He failed twice already and wants a third attempt. Humanity can never be brought back. He wants to create a new humankind that he has total control of. When his back is to the wall, he suddenly gives a fuck about the irreparable damage he's done. He's just gonna poof out of existence and Eve will still be herself. That's what we call too good to be true. Oh, but when Lily asks if she's still the same Eve, she replies,
Yes.
Right, yeah, the pathological liar, master manipulator. When he has finally found a suitable body to parasitize so he can create a new race of humans he has control of, he's immediately going to emerge in honesty.
It was me all along!
Which is promptly followed by Eve butchering hundreds of her sisters, without so much as even an offer of negotiation. And then is the proceeding megalomaniacal warship atop the globe in the center of Zion. But the music is happy, it's triumphant. If you were right, the music would be ominous. As much as I loathe to admit, you're probably right. And it's why the average misinformed player's favorite ending, from my point of view, is the worst one. It does not fit the theme of the game. The world of Stellar Blade is not a happy one. As I stated in my video about Mother Sphere, with the exception of one, every quest to find a missing person, they're dead. Even the cat is dead. The super happy fun time ending is completely out of place. It was added later in development. There originally was only one ending, as the game was written during a tough period in the director's life. He later wanted to give players the option of a more joyful ending. I don't think the writers were considering the broader picture of the lore when they wrote the super happy fun time ending. The implications of Adam in the lore fusing with Eve are mortifying. The liar wins, and Eve commits the wholesale slaughter of hundreds of innocents and is deified like Adam was to himself. But nah, here you go, feel-good ending. Everybody is happy, Zion is saved, the murder of billions whisked away in an instant. It does not match the narrative of the game. I want you to really think about this scene for a minute. All these cheering people, how many of their friends, family, neighbors were murdered to get there? Either from Adam's research or because they figured out what Oracle was really doing with the cradle. The man responsible for the miserable conditions they're in lived amongst them and could have saved all of Zion at any time. He put the hypercells in the places he tells Eve to find them, even holding on to the last one personally. He let the people of Zion suffer. He could have restored the power years ago, prevented the cradle from even having to be used. But it's easier to experiment on and kill people when they're volunteering at your request to be locked away in a pod. Don't have to worry about abducting people off the street. And Raven, the most devout worshipper of the Elder, warped into a killing machine by him, slaughtered countless of their fellow citizens yesterday. All of it so Adam could absolve himself. He gets exactly what he always wanted, suffers zero repercussions, and not only do the people accept it, they're having a grand old time. That is colossal horseshit. Speaking of the narrative and Adam's brutality, one of the Raffi logs I've gone over holds more information than I had initially discerned. I myself fell victim to the mob mentality that some of the documents are just red herrings, such as the claims of Oracle using the denizens of Zion for Naytiba experimentation being false. Yet when we do a little bit of critical thinking and realize that Adam, the Elder Naytiba, is close friends with Oracle and Adam has been
researching for decades
about fusing Naytibas with andro-eidos, it becomes exceedingly probable that those documents were in fact true. At the time, I had considered the less obvious segments of Raffi's data logs to be irrelevant background lore. Upon correcting my error via retrospection, an additional portion of the text jumped out at me. Remember, these are conversation logs between Raphael and his AI, Raffi, when he was experimenting on living humans to create Naytibas with the goal of controlling them. From the data log, Cultivation Experiment. The cultivation experiment is proceeding as expected. You can obtain energy from solar panels, electricity, chemical batteries, and organic and inorganic materials. You can lose 40% of your body and still survive. Back in my original video, I had only considered this to be about the survivability of the Naytibas, and Adam's desire to hold complete control over them, along with his blatant disregard for safety protocols. Now, those first few lines imply that Adam was using humans as an energy source. Grizzly, you're reading too much into it, you may be thinking. The thought crossed my mind as well, so I sent a picture of the data log to a friend of mine with the message, "Read this and tell me what it sounds like to you." He drew the identical conclusion. Furthermore, we never actually see Naytibas lose 40% of their body and survive. Once they've taken enough damage to be dismembered, they're dead. But say, for example, an AI who has been commanded to disregard safety protocols by its overlord who sees human beings as nothing more than objects to be controlled, needed energy for performing experiments at his behest, figured out that people can provide power, and if you're using humans as batteries, well, they're not really gonna need their limbs. If you're still not convinced, you find that data log and all the others from Raffi inside the structures that are clearly inspired by the Matrix. As I've already established, only the Elder can create alphas. Adam is the one who desecrated Taki, so that there would be nothing left to hold Eve to her past. And as we know, Adam never learns from his mistakes, continually repeating them and expecting shit to change. In the first legacy we miraculously happen upon, it is 8 days after the second dive. Raven, along with Ripley and Annis, are the only survivors. Annis is grievously wounded and expected to die. Ripley, on the other hand, her status is unknown, yet unremarkable, so presumably unscathed. The following legacy was recorded 44 days later. By this time, Ripley is dead as well. Concurrently, Raven has already met the Elder and his claws are dug into her. So how did Ripley die? The conjecture answer is Adam turned her into an alpha and forced Raven to kill her, assuming he put her on the same chain of glorified fetch quests, guiding her on the rails to his goal, before learning she simply will not do and throwing her away.
Like trash.
Unfortunately, there merely is not enough information to provide a definitive answer. Perhaps she met her end by an ordinary Natiba. I reiterate, Adam does the same thing over and over again. The only plausible defense for Adam is that he is not evil, he's just maliciously stupid. Which disturbs me, that the complete and utter destruction of humanity is justified to his cultists by means of being an idiot. Dietrich Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity states that stupidity is a greater threat than evil. Here are some quotes to further convey that message. Ignorance, the root and stem of all evil. Stupidity cannot be cured with money, or through education, or by legislation. Stupidity is not a sin. The victim can't help being stupid, but stupidity is the only universal capital crime. The sentence is death, there is no appeal, and execution is carried out automatically and without pity. Stupidity is the same as evil if you judge by the results. Do you get my point? Using stupidity as an alibi against evil is absurd. If anything, it makes him even worse. I'll play literal devil's advocate here and pretend he actually did have good intentions. He wanted to make humanity as good as it could possibly be, but because he's an idiot, he accidentally destroyed most of mankind. Then he tried to fix it, and inadvertently caused the complete extinction of humanity. And you want to give him a third try?
He's too dangerous to be left alive.
Do you know what happens when a person is convicted of involuntary manslaughter? That's the lightest charge there is for homicide. You never intended to hurt anybody, it was a complete accident. You go to prison. Just one person. Adam killed every single human in existence, and you think his punishment should be giving him what he wants? In what courtroom would the man directly responsible for the total annihilation of humanity be acquitted on the grounds of being a fucking moron? Need I remind you, Adam, Elder, Raphael, whichever you prefer to call him, as depicted by the documents, is one of the most heinously evil characters I have ever seen. He seems genuine and remorseful because he is a pathological
Liar!
A puppet master pulling your strings, playing you plumb into his ploy. A large number of players, once they've realized the connotation of Adam and Eve, think that is the game's way of implying that taking Adam's hand is the right choice. Stellar Blade is not a retelling of the Bible, it's a subversion. God is an artificial intelligence. Providence is an armored core. Zion was built by a baron of hell. This is not the story of creation, it's the story of destruction. Eve is an acronym. The protocol, the defense force, the woman herself are all named after whatever Eve is. Vexingly, like Yorha, its meaning will doubtless only ever be known to the director. Adam believed himself a god, and his hubris caused the extinction of mankind. His atonement is a lie. His forgiveness is a facade. He doesn't want to heal. He has only ever wanted absolute dominion over humanity. It was by his actions that mankind met its eradication, and so now he is seeking to be the god of a new humanity. Adam is the devil. He is evil incarnate. Divine retribution is not the answer. It is the question. The answer is yes.